Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. My name is Wayne Supernova, and in the last episode, we went to a wax museum, Madame Tussauds, and we found out there that she is in a bit of a predicament because someone stole the crown piece wax sculpture of one of London's most famous criminals, and posted a ransom note saying that she needed to pay £200 to get him back. And we also learned that the criminal wax sculpture that was stolen is related to Mr. Van Zieks, because the last victim of this killer was Van Zieks' I believe older brother or maybe father, a male older relative in his family. So we'll see how this plays into the trial here. We kind of don't really have much in the way of evidence at all, so I think we're probably screwed. But we'll find out. We'll find out how we get through this. 23rd of October, the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey.
Mr. Naruhodo!
Good morning, Professor Hairbrain.
I don't understand! It doesn't make any sense! The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts! I've never felt anything like it! It's crushing me!
I feel it every time I'm in here. That gravity.
Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure?
I think it's probably all in the mind.
Ah, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial. To save my life! To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public!
Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail.
Yeah, justice will prevail with my, I guess, 5 pieces of evidence. I forgot we got this sketch and these 2 things from the crime scene. And they really didn't give us any information on them. They were just, oh yeah, these 2 things exist. So we'll find out what they're for sometime in this trial, hopefully. I'm not sure who this is. I'm gonna guess Herlock. My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Yep. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. Ace Attorney loves doing that, and it becomes a guessing game for the person having to read the lines off like me. But it is a good way to test my reading comprehension, which I was poor at in high school, so.
That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes?
Indeed, sir, I am he. Herlock Sholmes.
Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany.
I couldn't think about how I was saying Herlock there. It was like Herlock Sholmes. Oh boy.
Ah yes, Rinsed magazine is on sale in Germany too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in The Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful.
Ah yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall.
No, that was the Speckled Band.
Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tussauds. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description.
Ooh, then you absolutely must give it your full attention, Hurley.
Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say.
Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand.
What kind of flavor of pie do you think Herlock eats? Well, what's his favorite? I have no freaking idea what it would be. Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrain.
Oh, why thank you.
Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. Uh-oh, what's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible.
But the professor said the demonstration was a success!
Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically.
So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I have no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Well, obviously it means it didn't work, and somehow someone made it work. Or made it look like it worked, at least. Now I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Hurley! Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up. You can do it.
Oh, what about you, Iris?
No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do.
I see.
It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is.
Oh boy. That sounds ominous. Oh boy.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once!
We're on our way. I think that's probably the weirdest one yet. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. Mr. Judge, who are our jurors this time?
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Hairbrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more... Oof. You can't do that to me. You can't do that 90s anime cliche. I'm without Susato-san today. Yeah, you're on your own for the first time ever, Ryunosuke. That is true. I hadn't thought about that, but... Because I somewhat anticipated Iris being our co-counsel today, but no co-counsel for us. Interesting. Ugh. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? Yeah, because Susato has always been here. Susato or Iris, if I recall correctly, which I might not, but there's always been at least someone standing next to us at the bench to help pick us up when the going gets tough. Ryunosuke has not been good at, you know, staying optimistic the whole time, so might be a little bit tougher for him this time.
So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Asman.
Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities.
It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks. But the jury unanimously found him not guilty.
Because every member of the jury had been bribed, by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom.
But 2 days ago, on October the 21st, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it?
If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain.
Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people.
That is the biggest lie in the entirety of Ace Attorney.
These jurors have been selected at random. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty?
Okay, you're new. And you are the head of the jury. What voice should I give you? Let's go with sort of like a older, posh style of voice. I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. Ooh. You look evil to me. I don't know why. Even though the guy to the right of you looks even more evil.
To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine.
Ooh. These are definitely different. I'm gonna have to remember all these too. He's got like bats on the back of those cards, which reminds me of Batty and Betty from Dual Destinies. Or actually, no, not Dual Destinies, Spirit of Justice. I'm gonna give him, you know what? We're gonna give him like the stereotypical Dracula accent. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances, blah.
Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang.
Oh boy.
We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and, then settle on one. That's it, isn't it?
Ah, and then the asleep police officer. So you're gonna play into this.
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
That's the police killer Ottermole lookalike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems.
Now, as I'm sure you are all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition, shortly after its opening.
Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators.
A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world, will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zeeks.
At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world.
One of science's latest developments, I take it? The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage.
The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis.
Good lord!
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity, and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled.
Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking!
Ha! The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny.
Sir, I believe you... That's the wrong voice. That's not even fucking close. What the hell?
Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field? I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. Oh, interesting.
What wrong?
I literally wasn't anticipating him to speak there.
Order!
Oh god, that's gonna kill my voice. The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asman's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. Oh, so you're trying to establish motive, too. But... This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
If there's any new witnesses, we don't know anything about them. Except maybe Gina? I mean, Gina said that she saw the whole thing from up on the balloon, but I don't know if, you know, he would have found her and brought her in. Especially considering the past that we've had with Gina. Gladly, my lord. Tossing it off right at the beginning. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand. Oh, we got two, huh? Harebrained and Gregson, okay. Starting off slow. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir.
Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division.
I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation.
Albert Harebrained, scientist.
You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition.
What you demonstrated was incredible, all right. An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. Interesting.
This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
So that's what the victim looked like. That's right, my lord. Seemed the victim rammed straight into it.
I see. Very well, submit the photograph as evidence.
But that makes no sense to me. So they're saying, so they don't know exactly how this would have worked. But they're also saying he wasn't killed by the explosion. Because in that case, if he was killed by the explosion, you would expect severe burns. At least. Including, like, deformation of the body, right? But he looks fine. On the front side, at least.
As the courts heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odiasman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being. He was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see. So to summarize the situation, the defense is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly.
But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration?
That's right! That must be it! My splendid machine! My poor splendid machine!
You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
What? The wreckage? The wreckage?
But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon?
Isn't that right, witness?
What? Sorry, me?
No, your neighbor. Yes, sir, it was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty.
What? How can he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder.
Okay, right into it. Current thoughts are... So, I want to check this real quick before we start. So we've got shards of the crystal tower glass over here, right? They said it was a singular stab wound to the chest that killed him. And he was harnessed into the apparatus. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the apparatus itself. Huh. Yeah, I don't notice anything else out of the ordinary with the picture quite yet. Maybe we'll have to reference something like, where could this have possibly come from? And then you like point at the crystal back here or some shit. But yeah, as for right now, nothing really sticks out to me. We don't know what the hell this had anything to do with. We haven't actually gotten the chance to check it yet. Let's check the back. It looks like layers of thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. I've never seen anything like it before. But applying Mr. Sholmes' methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really, really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Oh boy. Or maybe not. Yeah, it... maybe do this stuff when you're, It is a crossbow, isn't it? Because I'm sure that if you, like, you click this back... Oh, I can actually click on it. Ah, there's some sort of lever here. Click. Boop. It's a crossbow. Okay. What the... What is this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. Yeah, a crossbow. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. Oh, okay. So we've updated that at least. Never did that before. I thought it looked like a crossbow, but yeah, it folds out. I didn't see the string, though, so I was a little confused by it. This groove here must be where the arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right. It's sort of a bow with an automatic firing mechanism. This would be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with the bowstring 2 times out of 3. Ow. In fact, if I had had one of these, maybe I could have beaten Kazuma and Kyudo archery training. Yeah, you might have been able to. Though I'm pretty sure the old way has its own charm. It looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. You must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than a Japanese longbow. Ugh, I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibition grounds. Also, the fact that we took it from the crime scene when it's evidence would be, it would send certain prosecutors in the other Ace Attorney games into fits. They'd be like, "How did you let him take that from the crime scene?" Ah, salary wage cutting noises. And then what was this? So that's a girder. Not sure exactly how that's going to come into play, but we'll find out. Maybe they'll update it later. But, cross-examination time.
The corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck.
Oh, broken neck, huh?
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
Stabbed, huh? Maybe he was shot with the crossbow. That's the first thing that comes to my mind based on the evidence we have.
An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart?
Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge.
The coroner says death would have all but been instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused.
No! That couldn't be further from the truth.
I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team.
Ah, so here it gets updated.
The victim stood himself inside something called the birdcage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away.
That is weird. Why was the... Why did the ray get pointed so far upward? That's way more than just a little bit.
The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window.
My word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident.
Well, here's my fucking question to you, dumbass. You're a scientist. Why the hell did you not test this and know it properly was going to work before exhibiting it at the largest gathering of scientists and just like-minded people in the entirety of Europe ever? Why? Why would you do that? Are you an idiot?
Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
Murder weapon? What are you saying?
This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record.
Your request is granted, counsel.
His neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall, and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object. That's it? That doesn't identify the cause of death, though. It just says that both of those things happened to him. What dumb voice did I give you again?
I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole...
Nah, that's not it. That's not it.
I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Asmund was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really. Very well. Counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. My brain cannot think of a proper voice for the first guy. I need to focus here. It's been a while. Okay, we're gonna start by pressing everything because I didn't see something just immediately contradictory. Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height?
Exactly, which highlights something else about this whole rum business.
What's that?
The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
Ah!
After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere mid-air. So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur.
Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster?
Hold it!
So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally?
Absolutely! The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out.
Sounds like physics to me, but sure.
Only you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right! That's the point! The calculation is so complicated even I can make a mistake.
I forgot to turn that off again, didn't I? Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it.
I took into account the subject's height and weight, and the wind direction, and the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened.
Obviously, then, you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asmund was wearing at the time, I suppose?
Ah. Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3!
So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safety third. Oh boy. Dumb Ace Attorney jokes.
Hold it!
Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
Too right.
Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well.
But you're saying that's not the case?
You'll get your answer once I've finished my fish and chips if you don't keep butting in every few seconds.
We all know that's a bottomless bag. It's not even a bag, he's just wrapped it up in a newspaper.
The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that as the cause of death. Right, that's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it?
Hold it!
The defense knew nothing of this crucial information.
The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense.
Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. So, what was the nature of this sharp object?
Among the accused's tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This.
Ah, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it, Count? Ah!
There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew!
Andrew, of course. Andrew.
Ah, do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all of my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family.
Yeah, that's the right response there, Judge.
Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead.
Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
Ah, that isn't... It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt.
No!
And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound.
What? What?
Order! The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence.
Great. Well, we got that at least. So one of Professor Hairbrain's tools is the murder weapon? Great. So let's take a look at Andrew real quick. Anything else we should know about Andrew? This is blood. Mr. Asmund's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. Anything else? Something on the bottom? I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. Okay, there we go. So we did need to check it. Poking through the grill on the base of what remains of the kinesis machine. So Asmund ended up over in the Crystal Tower, and the screwdriver stayed over there, which means that he was... If that broken neck did result from the fall over there on the Crystal Tower, that the screwdriver was the murder weapon first, right? It doesn't actually confirm that, but it's possible, right?
Hold it!
So let's press one more time. What grounds do you have for saying that?
Ha! Do you really need to ask? There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Odie Asmund, and the accused, Professor Hairbrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive. That's right, I saw him with my own eyes. Furthermore, following the explosion and kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could have possibly done it.
Ah, here we go. Professor Hairbrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor!
Ah, sorry! I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of
electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that? It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark.
Yes, that is right. Of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh?
I don't know, but there's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Asmund, as you say.
Eh?
Explain, please, Professor.
Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins.
I had heard.
Then surely you see, if I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood-swimming pool.
Ah.
But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood.
Well, no, I suppose not.
You see? Not one.
Too true, I didn't see anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Maybe worded a bit differently, it would be stronger, but yeah.
Order!
Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hollowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert.
Oh, you're too kind, Barrack, but I'm really not a patch on you.
Damn. No, you're not.
No?
You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility.
I have?
A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Ah, of course.
Inspector, enlighten the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with this? They're saying he was stabbed first, right? Or they're saying he was stabbed afterwards, right?
Very well. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. Ah, okay. That works too. Nope. You see that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? Unequivocal is the way you're supposed to say that, sorry.
Look, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world.
Yes, but about this screwdriver. The thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage.
What?
It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson?
Well, now you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing.
Yes, that's true. This screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it?
What are you getting at?
If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
Order! How do you explain this, Inspector?
Well, I don't... It looks as though everything the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the... Oh, my apologies. We're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped. Oh god, that was shrill. So my voice for him was kind of similar to what his real voice is.
Do you have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry!
About what?
Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency.
What?
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, My trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculation.
Shut your fucking mouth. Jesus Christ. What? Yeah, I want to do that right now. It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation? Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Yep, just scientists.
Very well. The defense will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
Why Apollo? The god of archery?
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that the kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together.
Well, I think I have a counter argument for that already. But we'll see.
So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is
that based on his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis.
In other words?
In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency.
And therefore,
Professor Albert Harebrain could still have been the killer.
My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrain.
Yes?
Whose side are you on here?
I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No, no, no. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all.
So I have to fight you too, pretty much, because your shit is full of shit. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend.
Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo.
It should be easy based on what I saw there. I'm just going to check one thing real quick and we'll find out. Kinesis cannot transport metal. Present. He's got metal glasses on, doesn't he? That's what I noticed. I was like, he's got metal glasses on. I'm gonna quickly save scum real quick. We'll just save. And then we'll present that. See if it works.
Objection.
Wow, okay. It was that easy, huh? Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct.
In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim.
What? Metal? No. Metal can't... That's not... metal? No!
We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place.
Ah! My hypothesis! My hypothesis!
Professor Hairbrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed.
Wah!
Order! Counsel, what is the implication of this?
If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than on the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit.
But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work.
If I could say something here, in my capacity as a Fellow of the Royal Society.
Yes, juror... Wrong voice again. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to switch between these two.
Yes, juror number 4, go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect?
You can't just drop the fucking reference in the middle right there for no reason.
It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me and my fellow jurors when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud.
I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No! Never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis! It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act!
I fucking hate that thing.
What the devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. And these voices are destroying my throat as the same way. What's the best way for me to help the professor? Just let him get grilled. It's fine.
Objection!
Professor Hairbrain has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public, he would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing. Ooh. Very, very boisterous objection there. He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds?
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year.
Ooh, you could live on handsome. You could live handsome on that much for years.
I didn't know that they, picked children for jury duty. I thought you had to be a certain age, but sure.
The society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently. And plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No! I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. The science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection!
Apparently not. No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Barrack.
And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused.
Barrack.
Where is this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may.
Yes, Lord Van Zeeks?
The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand.
New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement?
They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses.
Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident.
The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no postiche. I've never heard that word before. The accused killed the financier victim there on this public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me?
We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes.
Boo! Wow. How does this always get timed so well? To be continued. And guess what? Almost an hour on the timer for the episode. So that's going to be it for this one. We got through that pretty quick. Yeah, I kind of didn't even need to press anything on that second cross-examination. And it seems like, oddly enough, the prosecution is the one that's on the back foot, because the jury doesn't believe the stance that the experiment could have gone off without a hitch, for the most part at least. So, I mean, it's a losing battle right now for the prosecution, but I have a feeling that these next witnesses are going to turn it around in their favor, and we're going to have an uphill battle to prove that teleportation isn't something that's feasibly possible with the science in 1900. But that's next episode, Me's Problem. So we'll see you guys then when we tackle these two new witnesses, and maybe Gina will be one of them. We don't know. We'll see then. Bye-bye.